Good afternoon and welcome to Nip and a Half Fantasy Football Podcast by Fantasy Football Hub. It's been a while, Paul. We've both been busy, and you're busy again in the coming weeks. It feels like we're flying here, there, and everywhere. But how are you, mate?
I am very well, thank you. International break, I was at both Scotland games and two of the worst games of football that you're likely to see. But take six. If you'd offered me the 6 points at the start of it, I would have taken two drab 1-0 victories. So yeah,
Absolutely. Are you guaranteed the qualification now? Sorry, or is it?
we are guaranteed a playoff
Cool.
spot
Okay.
now.
Fantastic.
We're on the same points as Denmark.
Wales and Belgium this evening. Massive game. Not really hoping for too much given Wales' display against England on Thursday night. But you never know. We do have a knack sometimes of turning up in these massive
Big
games. So
games.
hopefully we can both be there next summer, mate. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Welcome to having a chat. Please let us know if you can see and hear us. I haven't done this for a little while now, so I didn't do a sound check either. But please let us know if you can hear us in the chat. It would be great. Hopefully you can. Windy is in. He's back. It's great to have you back. Hope everyone's well. He says, Nobbles, evening guys. Hope you're both well and raring to go. Absolutely. Manchester is in. Says, hi, Fergie, Paul, and chat. Colin Johnston. Adam Byron is interested to hear Paul's thoughts on Semenyo in Dream Team. A nice haul in Game Week 7. Palace in a single had planned to move him to Saka, and GV Subramaniam says, Fergie, let's start. We have started and we are here. Feels like this is a long, I don't know how you feel, Paul. This feels like a long old international break. I don't know if it's because there's a bit of a boring Game Week 7 potentially. Not too much happened. But how has your fantasy season been going so far? And how was your Game Week 7? And how are your teams looking?
Yeah, I don't think it's felt as long as I guess being a supporter and going to the
Yeah,
games for
maybe.
on the internationals. It never really feels like any international breaks too long for me. Albeit I don't like the gaps when playing for Spurs. It's going to be different next year as well because you've got the it's going to be a 3 week
Free
gap, a
week.
one single 3 week gap rather than two 1 week gaps or 2 week gap, whatever, however you think
There's
about it
definitely
that
going
way.
to be
But
a tech issue when we come back from that one. 100% there'll be a tech issue.
yeah. But no, I think I had okay game weeks in each of the formats was kind of middling game weeks. But in general, I'm pretty happy with how the fantasy season started off. And like the best gauge barometer for me is this league that we're in. And I'm sitting sixth overall out of 74 engaged managers. I won't talk about your position on
I could see that
it.
little lip going as usual.
Yeah, so no, I'm pretty happy with how things have went. It's in Telegraph. I'm in a bit of a kind of weird stage, like you were, where I've made a couple of transfers, but I'm not gaining any rank, but I'm just holding rank.
Yeah.
Maybe people around me is using more, or maybe I've just not got the right players in place. But it does feel like I'm kind of stuck in the mud there. And in Dream Team, maybe it's just a combination of not having popular players that have done well against having players that are doing well that not others have got. So I'm holding ground in a lot of areas, but I'm looking to address some of those things in Dream Team in the upcoming weeks. And then on FPL, I'm pretty happy. I've used all my chips in the first half of the
Good
season,
man.
but I am happy with how I've played it and would probably play very similar again if it was put in front of me for next season and such like. I see a lot of people wildcarding just now, and
Yeah.
I've got largely like those players that everybody's
Sweet.
wildcarding in, and there is a few good options, so people are wildcarding out of good players to get
They
other
are.
good
They
players.
are.
So
I'm stuck in FPL anywhere from saving my transfer this week to wildcarding. And it feels like it's that. Like I look at my team on paper, and most of my players are playing at home. They've got good fixtures, but still because of the um, because of the temptations of the players you haven't got, especially highly owned players that you haven't got. I haven't got any Arsenal players. I haven't got any Palace players
Yeah.
either. Yeah, and there's other sort of trinkets and potential diamonds that are coming out of the rough. They're being unearthed as we speak. I sort of feel like, am I gonna all behind? I've tread water for a few weeks, but I look again now, and I've got a decent team, and I've just got to try and what I've been trying to do this year, and I think I've managed to do it so far, is play my own game and just look at my own team in isolation, and just feel, is it good enough? I don't have to be on the template. You can never be on the template all the time, right?
Yep.
I've still got my wild card. I've still got my free hit. And I've still got a decent team, so I just have to look at it kind of like that, and just hope that the longer term play of holding it, if I don't need to use it, is going to see me through rather than rushing it now, as I've seen quite a few managers doing. They've, I think for yourself and others, using the wild card a bit earlier has worked incredibly well. I think using it in game week 4 worked well, potentially in 6, maybe to a lesser extent. But I've seen some use it and they've gained less points in that particular week, and they've also lost out on players as well that they should have maybe held. So it's an interesting sort of dynamic and position we find ourselves. So should we start an FPL?
Yep.
What's your sort of rank at the moment, and how is your team looking?
370k.
Nice.
Game week score was, I know that the global average was 60. I got 68 points. I was pretty happy how things went. I was tossed up between 2 transfers, and I spoke to you about it. You said that your preference would be to bring in Gabriel rather than Gordon, and I went the opposite way.
Oh, did you? You went with Gordon.
I cost myself 6 points that way. But so yeah, my team looks okay. I had Munoz in defence, which he's still lowly owned, particularly in FPL.
Nice.
So that actually worked out pretty well, and I got 8 points. 8 points for him. I've already got 2 Arsenal, and I could bring in Gab. My team looks good, similar to what you're saying here about your team. I could bring Gabriel in this week as a blocker. I just don't know who I would bench if I did.
Yeah.
And Arsenal's got a poor record at Craven Cottage recently
Oh,
as well.
interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. I might still just transfer him in just to get over and done with, and I don't think then there's many players that can hurt me. And I'm pretty happy with the rest of my team. I've only got the 1 transfer, but at the same time I've got 15 good squad players as well, so
that's it.
I can afford to rotate players over the next coming weeks. So pretty happy with how things are going in general. There's different ways to cut it as well, so I'm not going to come on here and tell someone that they must be getting these players, or if their team looks different to this is how they should be going. I'm pretty happy with how I've played it, and I don't think that there's any bandwagons. Maybe Enzo's the one this week, right? And we'll probably talk about him in Dream Team more as well, because I do think Chelsea's fixture run, the fact that he's likely on penalties without Palmer. I think Enzo's a great shout if he's fit. We'll see what comes out of the press conference there. I could do Rodgers to Enzo, or I could move one of my defenders to Gabriel, or I could roll. So for me, it's between those 3 options.
Just in terms of this, and obviously, this impacts my team and your team, and lots of others probably watching as well. Are you? Oh, sorry, you've used your wild card, so it doesn't impact you at all. For those of us who have still got the wild card, obviously this AFCON thing is kind of a blessing. And I think it was it's a blessing for early wild carders, and I know that was part of the strategy of going early, is it saves you. But for me, I was planning on playing it early, but my team was in a good spot, so I didn't need to. I still don't need to kind of use it. But the closer I get, I know I'm only on game week 8, so I'm not getting too ahead of myself and too excited. But the closer it gets to maybe like 10, 11, 12, and I've seen there's this massive thing on X of sort of use it in game week 12 or 13, but then because everyone is topped up to 5 transfers in 16 anyway, okay, you should benefit from, what was it, 12, 13, 14, 15, four game weeks. It is a fairly large period in all fairness. But when you set up a wild card, you're probably looking at, I would say, for longer than 4 weeks anyway. Is it too late? What are your thoughts on whether it's maybe too late to save it to game week 12 to get the full impact from it? And I'm only asking as well because I think the last 2 seasons, and maybe I'm thinking of it maybe a little bit more in terms of my old team and my own experience. But what's happened the last two seasons? When I've wildcarded in the first half, I've gone for the fixture. It's this whole fixture swing, right? You jump on the fixture swings, whereas it's negatively impacted my team. And what I'm considering, for example, this week, I don't need to wildcard in a traditional sense. But what I could do is I could keep the core of my team. There may be 7-8 players I know I'm going to want to move forward, like the Senesi, Semenyo. Probably I'd keep Kudus, Haaland, João Pedro, and maybe one or two others, and then get in the players I want, like maybe Gabriel, maybe Gyökeres, maybe Sarr, maybe Enzo, and all these players, and kind of do it for free, rather than make this massive wholesale change 11 or 12. Well, my team is still probably going to be pretty decent anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, this was you've alluded to it somewhat, but this is why I played it early, because I didn't feel like I was going to have to play it later on, and for me there was a couple other benefits as well. The transfer volumes are always more at the start of the season, so
Yeah.
if you use it on the first international break, you can build up team value pretty quickly
Yeah.
as well. All the popular players coming in, so I can't say hindsight is a great
No, of
thing. And
course.
what was it? When was the best time to plant a tree 20 years ago, and when's the second best time to plant one now? Um, but those were all part of the reason why I was kind of committed to it, but comfortable with my commitment to
Yeah.
it at that point in time. For all the reasons that you said there, this extra 5 transfers that we're getting in 16. So do we really need to plan that much in advance? Are you really getting the full impact of the wild card at that point in time? I guess it really depends on how your team's set up. But if you're saying that your team's set up pretty well here, and I think you've got transfers as well, right? You
No, I
don't like
haven't. No, no,
you don't. You've
no.
only got like you've
Yeah,
just
yeah,
got the one.
yeah.
Um, but is Fulham away that great a fixture for Arsenal as
No,
well?
it's
If that's where your
yeah.
biggest gap is just now, I don't think I would.
And Palace
I
got
don't think I
Bournemouth
would
this
play
week
it.
as well. I think with Palace and Bournemouth is the other one, which is also a tough fixture for Palace. Bournemouth, have been playing really well. I suppose that the other option is to hold it through and play it after game week 15. You can play it up to is it up to game week 19?
Yeah,
You can play it because there won't be many people, I don't think. Obviously, the 5 transfers is great, and we'll set you up in that period. But you could also play it in sort of game week 18 or 19 when a lot of teams are probably feeling the pinch and starting to get a bit stretched over Christmas. There's rotation, there's injuries, there's hamstrings, and all this stuff. But I suppose that's a different option. But yeah, it's just an interesting.
I think if I was in your spot, I if I hadn't committed to it at the start of this international break, albeit I don't think there's been much price changes
No,
anyway,
no,
in all honesty,
massively.
but I would probably keep it until 12 or 13, I
Okay,
think.
okay, interesting. Couple of questions from GV. Would the promoted teams be able to hold on to the good starts? That's a really good question. Sunderland and Leeds are really good examples, or will they cave? I think they both look reasonably solid. I don't think we can expect too much from them. These newly promoted teams, obviously, as the season wears in and they start to get a couple of injuries and things, they tend to get stretched very thin in their impact. So, what do you think?
Do you know something I don't like that not a lot of people have mentioned this season? The volume of teams playing in Europe and having to balance squads just
Yeah,
now, I think lends itself to teams at the
yeah,
bottom
I
part of the
agree.
league being able to nick more results off tired legs
Yeah,
at the weekends as well. So Sunderland in particular have invested very, very well over the summer, and I think that they're set up well for success. Burnley, I think I'll probably struggle, and I'm not too sure on Leeds. But like, if they can get the best out of Calvert-Lewin, then he's getting chances just now if he can start.
Dev should have scored against
Get some
Spurs.
games.
Spurs last week. He had a couple of golden chances, didn't he?
Yeah. So I think, if you take all of those things into consideration, I think that there is a decent chance that I'll be more open at the bottom of the table this year, and it's not kind of teams getting cut away. I know Wolves have had a really, really bad start to the season, but their fixtures turn a little bit over the next couple of weeks, or they have some favourable fixtures. What is it? Burnley and Sunderland back like, or is it Leeds and Sunderland? I think they've got two of the promoted teams back to back in the next two games. Not that I'm looking at Wolves' assets, but just let's say for keeping it competitive at the bottom of the league. So yeah, I think there's no reason to suggest that they won't. And you've got some gems in there with like Defcon as well. You've got like Rodon's like for like 4.0.
Yeah.
There's good options. Same with Sunderland's got some good 4.0 options in there as well.
I've noticed as well, I think with Spurs, I'm sure I noticed more. I haven't got examples to hand, but I'm pretty sure that we saw a little bit more rotation than we would normally expect in early stage of Champions League groups. I think Kudus potentially was benched. So I know Romero was left out of the squad as a precaution. I owned both of those in Dream Team, which is why I knew, which is incredibly frustrating. But yeah, I do. I kind of said this at the start of the season. I still think, I really think that Spurs last year and United may have potentially inadvertently, set a new trend. I think in terms of, there's just no way that teams can just play. Especially the star players who we've all got in our teams in Dream Team, right? They just can't play every Saturday, every Wednesday for 6 months, right?
Just look at Rodri. Just look at Rodri. What's happened?
Exactly,
what's happened to him?
Exactly that, right?
And is that a byproduct? I know he's had a bad injury, but is that a byproduct of him just playing every single game?
And Palmer, right? And Palmer now he's injured again because he played all summer and things. So I do wonder whether we are going to see. I'm probably thinking a bit more around Dream Team now than FPL specifically, but normally you pick 11 great players from Champions League teams and Europa teams, and they played sort of 90% of the time. It does feel like that's a lot less this time round. Just touch on my team on FPL. Yeah, I had Kudus and Semenyo, which is obviously brilliant, and Porro. They kept me afloat this weekend. I had 69 points, and just looking for my team for next week. And this is what I mean, right? So I've got Sanchez. For Forest is fine. I've got Senesi, Porro and Romero. I've still got the double Spurs defence who are home to Villa, which I think is not a bad fixture at the moment. I've got Semenyo, Kudus, and then I've got Reinders and Foden who have been very, very frustrating. But they're home to Everton this week. Like how can you wildcard them out when they're home to Everton this week? I brought Gordon in, who was very disappointed. I'm actually thinking of moving him on, which could be a bit knee-jerk. And I would have Haaland and João Pedro up front for my team this week, which is fine. I've also got Ekdal, who's home to Leeds, as an option as well. So that's what I mean about wildcarding. I'd be wildcarding out good players with good fixtures for good players with good, for potentially good players with not a good fixtures. But I'm about 1.2 million. Don't think I've done a lot wrong really. Quite happy with the way I've played. I'm just gonna hold. I'm gonna hold on to wildcard for a little bit longer. Maybe even and just use it when I just feel there's a period where my team is almost untenable against if I've looked at the fixtures, but I know Arsenal's are pretty good. I think Arsenal's maybe good in game week 9, maybe Palace's as well. Maybe that's the time I just hit the reset button. I don't mean reset as in completely switch my whole squad around, but just tweak around the edges because, like I say, you build a team on good players, right? Players like Semenyo, Kudus, Haaland, and all that. There's no point transferring those players out for players with just because they've got better fixtures, and that's what we traditionally do in FPL is this fixture swings. We jump on these, players who should do well going forward, but they always come back and bite us. Anyway, that's FPL. Should we have a look at Dream Team? I had a stinker this week. Took out Semenyo last week actually. Before I think he's got a 13-pointer and a 20-pointer in the 2 weeks I've taken him out for the double game week gems, which has hurt, has massively hurt my rank.
10 and 20.
10 and 20, yeah. I mean that's a stinker. Just I've tried to stay ahead of the curve, but I've kind of hit the bumps on the curve really. So I've got 11 double game week players already, kind of already in place, and I know some have still got quite a few singles players like Semenyo. On that week, I took out Semenyo and Roefs in goal. That was it. Roefs got like a 10-pointer as well or wherever, so that sort of really hurt. But the way I play, and I'm not going to change unless the whole game changes. But I always go for doubles. And so I don't really think it was a bad move. I just maybe think it was a bit sort of unlucky there. But I only scored 65 this week, but I am down to about 19k because there were some quite heavy scores this week for players I didn't know. And I did have Kudos for his 14-pointer, which saved my game because other than that, I had a lot of binary. I even had 2s and 1s this week. Absolute stinker. Brought in Gabriel for his rise and his 9-pointer, which was nice. Could have got him in place early. But yeah, other than that, not too great. Yourself?
What are you thinking about? Have you got any plans for this week?
Very, very loosely. I've got 11 doublers in place. Obviously Enzo may be injured. And I've been looking or trying incredibly hard to keep up with the team value game, but I've noticed that Timber is going to be going up from 5 to 5.3, and I don't want to let him get away from me because I feel like if he gets up to 5.6 or maybe higher, I think it's going to be very hard to go and get him. When you've got players like potentially Saka when Palmer is back or wherever else. So I think I'm still going to chase the cash. So something like, I don't know, maybe an Enzo, maybe a Gordon. I was disappointed with Gordon's, both his contribution, but also his minutes as well. I know he took the penalties, but Voltemada bashed that penalty right into the top corner, didn't he? So I wouldn't be surprised if he takes them now. So maybe something like a Gordon, because I'm assuming he's going to drop Gordon to Timber. I may even move to 5 at the back for a period. I've got Cash, Romero, Lacroix, and Gabriel.
Have you got Salah?
Yeah, I kept Salah. So
you keeping him still, or
I am for this week, I think. Again, we had a question of GV about Salah and thoughts. I've got rid of him in FPL. I still hold him in the other two. Have you got Salah still?
I've got Salah still, and he is one of the options for getting for coming out for me. So,
have you seen enough? Have you seen enough in terms of, obviously, because once you get rid of him, he's going to be hard to get back, isn't he?
Well, he is, but then I look at it and I was like, well, the following week they are playing away to Brentford and Palace at home in the cup. So I think he's likely to get rested in the Carabao Cup as well.
Yeah, he
so
will, won't he?
A single. I always think getting rid of Salah is easier when he's not a captaincy contender, and right now he's not a captaincy contender for the fact that Haaland will be everyone's default captain there. So
that's a good shout.
I'm not. I am considering getting rid of him, and I think when we look at tables, most of the teams above me or people I'm chasing down in mini leagues have already been Salah off as well. So
Really?
I'm also not concerned from that front.
Oh, and he was another who was rested in the Champions League, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, that's never happened before. In the early stages of the Champions League, he plays every game, doesn't he? 90 minutes every game. Do you think it's a form thing, an age thing, or a system thing, or a mixture?
Probably a combination of all three.
Do you think he's cooked?
He did tail off at the tail end. He did tail off at the tail end of the last season as well. So I mean, if you take out the one game, so the Champions League game at home this season, where he had, I think it was like a 14 pointer or 15 pointer. There's not that much. There's not that much to.
Do you think
he's
if you look at as like that premium asset, that like that Harry Kane, Haaland, Salah?
I think it's hard to say that because he's never relied on being on top form for 90 minutes. So I probably think back to more FPL based conversations where when I didn't own him, a lot of people did the Haaland to Salah switch last season, and he would do nothing for 85 minutes and then end up with like a double point return. But consistently afterwards. So I wouldn't rule him out from that front. But I play Dream Team a bit like I used to play Sky, in that I think of what the premium team would be, optimal team would be, and try and make moves towards that. And I don't think that I would have Salah in my optimal 11 just now. And
Yep.
if I need him to come out to fund two moves that gets me closer to that, and then again for other reasons that I've mentioned there, um, about next week and about the non-captaincy point. I just don't think it's as risky as what it previously was for removing them.
Yeah.
There's a few dependencies here, right? Romero Argentina play a very short
Yeah.
turnaround to the Premier League game, albeit Spurs don't play till Sunday, and I think that this was a problem with Enzo if he was still with Argentina, that people had concerns about him playing on the Saturday lunchtime kickoff anyway. So there's a few things I need to look out for in terms of other players coming out, rather than Salah.
Yeah.
So, but right now, if I was to say no more information, and I expect Enzo to play, then I think Salah will be one of my transfers out.
Just to answer Adam's question in the chat around Semenyo,
Right.
Palace in a
So,
single this week. He's probably going to, definitely going to raise 0.3, isn't he?
so I use the same logic as what I said about Salah there, and the Carabao Cup being midweek, following week. So if I think of this as a 2 week
Mm.
period, right, Semenyo's playing two games to people's threes, and one of which being a fixture at Forest at home, which is one of the most favourable fixtures in the Premier League this season. So yes, Crystal Palace in a single away isn't ideal, but he is getting a 0.3 rise. So I'm not taking Semenyo out.
No, I think that is very sensible. Is he? Sorry, is he playing in the Carabao? Are they out
No.
still? Oh,
So what I'm saying is that a lot of teams have four games over the next
I
two
take your
game
point.
weeks.
Yeah, I get it.
But I'm suggesting
Yeah,
that the majority of
yeah.
teams that are in the Carabao Cup will rest, or rotate like quite heavily for the Carabao Cup. So therefore, it's only really three games for players that tend to play most games, and Semenyo's got two fixtures, so it's not back-to-back singles against back-to-back doubles. Is how I'm thinking of it anyway.
How crazy! If you hold him this week, you can sell him for 5.2, a week or two later, and probably get him, Saka for like five,
Yeah, just
for like 5.9 or
exactly.
something. Crazy.
My fear is that he blanks against Palace and then takes a drop again going into Forest, and I can't get rid of him because I
Yeah,
wouldn't be getting rid of him in Forest attack.
yeah.
But I'm happy. But I'm happy to hold. Like
He's got you the
one
points
of
already. Is the thing is he's
he's one of, if
almost
not the
earned
most
it.
form.
He's almost earned it. You're indebted to him for both points and price rises anyway. So even if he does blank for 1 week and costs you 0.2, I mean that's nothing for what he's given you. 30 points 2 game weeks is crazy.
Yeah, so and same logic for me for ROFs and goals. I don't think there's many
Yeah.
goalkeepers because
No.
like even Palace. I know Henderson played a lot of the cups last year, but in the last round of the cup, Henderson
Mm.
didn't play for Palace either. So, is there any goalie that's going to play two games next week? So again, ROFs, 2 games versus 3 games for European players. I think I've got bigger fires to put out, and then maybe after that week, I might consider taking him out for a European player if I've banked the money. Which if I'm taking Salah out and not getting him back, then I should have a bit of spare cash to upgrade the keeper as well. So
Who are you?
that's that.
Who are your sort of top 2 or 3 players that you got your eye on, who you would love to be able
Well,
to
I need
get
to
for the
bring
next
Kudus.
week
I
or
need to
two?
bring Kudus in. I
Okay.
need to, and I know he's popular already, so it's not helping people, that already own him. But I'm definitely bringing Kudus in this week, and then my second transfer. I've got a short list of maybe 6, 7 players. I don't have any Arsenal coverage, so Saka, Eze now. Eze wouldn't have been on it, but with
Odegaard
Odegaard being
out.
out,
Yeah.
and then Timber and Gabriel, is in there, and Real, but making a goalkeeper move this week. I brought in Voltamade last week, so he got nice
Nice.
10 pointer, got the rise. We'll get another rise this week as well. Um,
Yeah,
and
he
then
looks good.
Palace, Munoz and Sarr are the two,
Yeah.
that I've got my eye on from Palace. And I think that's like the 6 players,
Yeah.
outside of Kudos who I'm definitely bringing in.
Good stuff. You mentioned on Telegraph that you feeling like treading water. I mean, thank goodness we had Semenyo in our starting 11s, mate. He has just held held the team together, right? He's been unbelievable, absolutely ridiculous. 3.1 million. Yeah, how's your team looking?
Not bad. I am on 4-5-1. I got rid of Salah. And the reason I got rid of Salah is that I've now got money in the bank and I'm planning on making two moves this week to bring in Arsenal defenders
Yeah, nice.
to complement Rhea. So I got 59 points for the week. So I held rank and I made one transfer. I took out Salah for Gordon, which gave me the money to do upgrades. And if I make the changes this week, that'll give me a blanket defence of Palace and Arsenal, back five collectively, two Palace, three Arsenal. So, and then I get the fixture gains as well. So I'd mapped out a plan on if I do that move last week, that was the last opportunity that I'd do it. Then I could get the fixture gains this week. When I make those moves, so I think I'll bring in Timber and Gabriel this week, provided they both start against Fulham.
Have you got Bruno?
No,
I've still got Bruno and Salah. Just
eating up all the money and
nostalgia.
not
It's
like
not. It's not so much the money, because the rest of the team is cheap as chips, really. Apart from Haaland, got like Palace defense. Truffert has been incredible. I'm definitely I'm moving Anderson on. So Forest play first this weekend, so I'll play Anderson and then move him on. I like Sa. I've already checked. You can't do a 5-2-3 formation in Telegraph. So, but I'm thinking of moving on potentially Bruno, Anderson, and Salah, and just. But I'm. It's this never-ending, thought around the transfer usage. Like I've got to be fair. I don't speak highly of you often in public anyway. But last season and this season, you seem to have found that balance of being able to use your transfers very effectively. Because in previous years, I always used my transfers a bit faster than you, and we were kind of levelish when it came to ranks. I think I beat you the 2 years before, but you seem to have found a balance now of being slightly more aggressive with your transfers, but that is also reflected in your ranks as well, I think, which is, and I'm probably lagging behind a touch in both of those. So I'm 10k, got 40 transfers, and it's like, yeah, great, got all these transfers, but I'm fearing the worst in terms of the same will happen to me as happened last year. You end up 80, 100 points ahead of me, and it doesn't matter if I'm 10 transfers ahead of you. I'm not making up those 100 points because you're too good a player, and all our rivals in our mini leagues are too good of players to be able to defend against that, defend an 80-point lead, even with the 10 transfers in hand. So, I think I'm going to use 2 or 3 in this next week or two to reshuffle my team a touch. But again, I'm then trying not to focus too much on yourself and everyone else, and just making sure I'm making the right moves for my team as well, and hoping that my patience will pay off a bit further on. So, yeah, I made
one big mistake last year in Telegraph, and that was pissing about at the FA Cup weekend, trying to
definitely
get players at potentially Hall, and the 3 or 4 transfers that I wasted doing that. If I had went and did what was I'd say a popular move. I mean, popular in that I saw some engaged people doing it, and that worked out really well for them, which was going all in on Newcastle when they had the fixture volume, the Monday night game, and it was a plum Monday night fixture as well. And they just went for blanket block defence, and they kept like 3 clean sheets in the next 4 or something like that, and rocketed up. And I would have done the same had I had a lot of transfers at that point in time. What I'm trying to do just now is that, for me, the best 2 defences in the league, Arsenal's the best defence overall, and I know the players are a bit pricey, and for me, Palace is the best value defence.
agree,
And therefore, if I set that up, that should be minimal touch. Don't need to do much in that respect, and that's why I don't mind using a couple of transfers, knowing that I shouldn't be touching that again unless I get injuries.
You're right. And well, again, I'm set up all right. I think I've got Henderson, Munoz, Truffert, Lacroix, and Romero. I brought Romero in ahead of Saliba. I could have got to Saliba, but I thought Romero at 3.4 had the potential to do really well. He's had back-to-back 1-pointers, I think, since, and Saliba's had like a 7, and I think was he benched on the weekend, or I can't remember anyway. And I've got Bruno, Semenyo, and Anderson, but Anderson's definitely going. I've got Haaland, Salah, and Mateta, so I haven't got people like Bowen's next 4 games, for example, are absolutely plumb, aren't they? So I could jump onto Bowen, who I know is, I know he's highly owned already. But it feels like I don't know how you feel at the moment. I don't want to jump too early because I made this mistake last year on the Arsenal defense as a prime example. It looks like clean sheets are back, and and the forwards, probably Haaland aside, are not really worth it so far this season. But I don't want to jump too early and jump to like a 5-4-1, and then all of a sudden there's goals everywhere and the defense are scoring nothing. So it's just finding that balancing act at the moment. So. Yep. But yeah, I'm tempted to move to a maybe like a 5-3-2 potentially, and go for Bowen. I can take out, for example, Anderson and Salah, or Anderson and Bruno, or even Anderson, Bruno and Salah, and go for Timber, Sarr, and Enzo Fernandez, for example. I just think off the top of my head there. But there seems to be much better options and lots of cash splashing about.
I think you roll if Arsenal keep clean sheets without having any coverage in defence. You will, and they're popular.
And Timber is cheap as well, isn't he? Timber's
that'll be something I feel that's something I feel that you might regret if you don't.
Address it. Yeah, I agree. I feel like the breakout player in the game at the moment, to me, looks to be Timber across all formats. He's putting up ridiculous numbers, but he seems to be starting every game as well.
And people won't go for him because of the impending threat of rotation or fear, because he's not got that Gabriel where he plays.
But he has played every game. He has played.
Yeah, I know. But people worry about that, whereas they don't worry about Gabriel because he's got the history of playing 36 out of 38 games. Right?
I think the double up is the move there, and I can get to that in Dream Team this week. And also when I wildcard in FPL, which I don't know when. I think that's the move, but I think I might go for him as my 5th defender. But I'm even tempted, I need to, there's no point in pursuing Romero if I just don't think he's going to be a good. I do think he is a fairly good option, but Timber and Gabriel are ridiculous options, aren't they, in this format? So I just need to give it some thought. But I don't want to blow my beans too early.
Correcting so there's 2 ways to think about this, and I'm playing pros and cons of it. Is you made the Romero move for a reason, or was it a bit whimsical? Because if you think it's a mistake, as in you could have made a better choice, but that better choice is still available. Yeah. You shouldn't let that hold you back. Is it an outcome versus
maybe
what the plan was?
Maybe, yeah. But I would have gone for Saliba, and I think I prefer Gabriel and Timber anyway. So maybe I can look at it that way, as in actually it's not too bad. I'm sure I can find a gain somewhere. Romero on to an Arsenal defender. So I just need to think about it, and whether I need True Fair at 2.3 has been great, right? But their fixtures do turn soon. Do I just again, I think I'm maybe stuck in the old traditional way of playing TFF in terms of the enablers are so key, or used to be so key, didn't they, in this game? Finding a 2.3 million starting defender, just that was, you'd do it for a relegated team previously, just because, whereas now he's playing for a very good team. But I could swap him for Gabriel because I've got so much money sploshing about. Is it, I just need to think in those terms. And like, I'm the same as you. I can use 4 transfers and get to a shit hot Arsenal Palace team. A sort of great, really good team all around. And just need to think it's whether I want to use those transfers and, stick myself down with tendencies like 35 transfers. And I know a lot of my rivals are ahead of me and will still have 40 plus. So it's that constant headache and balance of how we manage that. Interesting stuff, mate.
Any other questions in the chat before? I know you keep an eye on it.
Mainly sort of FPL stuff. We've answered most of them. All good. But yeah, how is the ultimate leaderboard looking? No, I know I have to scroll down quite a lot to find mine. I think.
You're languishing down in 52nd
Am I? Am I
position.
that far? Oh my god! Do you know? I feel like I've got. I feel like I've got pretty decent teams. I mean, what the fuck? Am I
Yeah,
that far down?
you've had a bit of a nightmare in Dream Team because you were well ahead of me at Dream Team a few weeks back. So you're 44th in Dream Team, 51st in Telegraph, and
Jeez.
32nd in FPL.
What are all these 51 guys ahead of me doing? Like, I feel I've got pretty decent teams. I haven't got Semenya in Dream Team. I'll hold my hands up to that one.
Oh, it's not,
But
I
other
don't
than
even think
that,
it was
I'm
that
like
popular. I didn't think it was that popular, like that popular.
swines, all of you.
Yeah,
57
maybe is that thing. Maybe like a lot of people held on to ROFs as well, and I think you're now balancing that.
ahead of the curve. I brought in cells for fuck's sake. Cells for his 1 pointer, 2 pointer, 2 pointer. Um, okay, interesting stuff.
Yeah, so top 10. Tim Barry's in 10th, Craig Garton in ninth, Tony Sutcliffe in 8th, Gary Carter in 7th. I'm up in 6th, so 12th in Dream Team, 19th in TFF, and 16th in FPL. You got Simon Davis, who was leading this for quite a while. I think Dream Team's hurt him as well, so he's moved down to 36th in Dream Team. He's still 5th in TFF and 2nd in FPL. Tom Gledel in 4th, Ben Parkin in 3rd, Danny White in 2nd, and hub contributor and your fellow TFF podcaster Carl Weeks is out in 1st with single digit ranks in every game. So
Whoosh.
8th in Dream Team, 3rd in Telegraph, and 2nd in FPL.
Very, very well done, Carl, and to everyone there. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I I am enjoying this season though. I don't feel like though. I don't feel like that score like reflects either my performance or my enjoyment of the game so far this season, because I am enjoying all the formats this year. Particularly, I must say FPL. I think it was a great move to put in all these extra chips and DEFCON and really mix it up. It's really made it interesting, I think, and really enjoying it. There's something to think about every week in there, whereas normally it's like one transfer,
The,
make the same one as everyone
yeah.
else. And
Well, the good there's two good things I think about FPL is there's no like it feels like there's no template.
definitely,
Or the pool of players that are prime players
absolutely.
feels expanded. And second, that FPL review team that a lot of people started the start of the season with and has didn't start off particularly great either, which I enjoyed a bit more. Like just again, but more for that diversity point because I felt if it had started well, a lot of people would have jumped on that and maybe they would have formed more of a template than there was. But
Good points, mate. Good stuff. Okay. Yeah, apologies everyone that we have been quite sporadic so far with the pods this season. We have been I've been away and Paul's been away, moving house soon as well. So we will try and get as many out as we possibly can over the coming weeks.
I've never written a Twitter or X thread, and I had it's not something I'm definitely going to commit to, but I think on occasions where we can't make the podcast work,
Yeah, good
I
show.
think having a nip and a quarter, let's call it, thread, or maybe
Very good.
chat GBT how to do threads and how to set up in a template. But it's something I've considered as well, and I think most know that I'm not a avid um, team review kind of person, but maybe like just post some of my musings
It's a
on
good show.
each of the different games on a thread, or maybe try and be a bit more active on X. And that's where most people follow us from
Yeah.
this link anyway. So that might be something that we can try and pick up on weeks that we're not podding.
Really good shout, that is, mate. Yeah, nice one. I know you're away next week, aren't you? And like I say, we just both had so much on all these last few months with all different things, but we'll settle into a routine soon. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Hope you enjoyed our ramblings as usual. You're away next week, aren't you? We'll see what we can do maybe at some point, but if we can't, it'll be the week after. But again, thanks to everyone for your understanding. My team reveals are, if you want them, languishing in 50 seconds. Available on the hub every Friday. Fantasy Football Hub, link below. The 50% discount for new joiners is ending this week. So if you haven't joined and you want to use that and everything else on the hub, there is a link below for you to join if you haven't already. But yeah, we will be back soon. And yeah, see you all soon. Thank you all.